Hey there, it's Professor Nagel. We're doing 9.2, Work with Strings, from Murach C Sharp, specifically the 8th edition. And I have the string handling application open. And what we're looking to do is grab this name and figure out what their first name, middle name, and last name is. And then change the capitalization to make it proper case. And we're going to do that when somebody clicks on parse name. So let's get into the code here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what the user entered, like what words that they enter for their name. And we're going to store that in an array of strings. So we have string names is equal to txt full name dot text. All right, so that is what the user entered. We're going to split that on a space. Now, here's the thing. If I entered Eric Nagel, then this is 0 and 1. Okay, because this is the space that we split it on. If I entered Eric Nagel like that, we have like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we want to clean up some of this stuff. We want to take the full name, the text property of it, and we want to trim it so that all of this would go away at least. And then this Eric Nagel would be 0, 1, 2, like that. All right, we still are dealing with double spaces in here. The book and the solution don't mention dealing with double spaces. So guess what? My students, extra credit, figure out how to get rid of those double spaces. All right. And not just double spaces, but if you had like that many spaces, as many spaces as there are, just get it down to 1 in the middle there. Okay, so now we have that cleaned up. And if it was Eric X Nagel, that would be 0, 1, and 2, like this. That's what string names holds right now. So we're going to actually figure out what is the first name. And first name is required. And if I just need to look at the assignment here. Okay, so specifically, this code should work whether the user enters a first, middle, last name, or just a first and last. I got to keep track of all this. My students, more extra credit. If Madonna's using an application and she just enters Madonna, it should only be saved in first name, right? So there is a possibility that the person using an application only has one name. That's not going to be in the solution. We are requiring first name and last name. All right, however, middle name is optional. There might not be a middle name. So we make that nullable. It's not empty, it's just not nothing. All right. So now let's take a look at if names.length is equal to 1. And the funny thing is they try to handle this. The first name is names in spot 0. But the last name is empty, and that's not really the case. It should be null. So that's part of your extra credit, right? Accepting that. So if it is Madonna, we take that name and we put it into the first name. Okay. Otherwise, else if there's two names, first name is name 0 and last name is names 1. So Eric Nagel. All right. Otherwise, if names.length is greater than 2, first name is in 0, middle name is in 1, last name is in 2, and throw out everything else. Right? Not the best thing. Like if you're something middle initial last name Junior, the Junior gets thrown out. Okay? And taking a string and parsing the name out of it is a very common problem that you'll experience as a programmer. This is a simple solution to it. All right, let's now take first name, middle name, last name, and let's make the names proper. Meaning, Eric turns into Eric, or Eric turns into Eric, like that. All right. So first name equals, and what do we want to call this? We want a new function. Let's call it proper name. Oh, there we go. That was some crazy autocomplete. All right, so we're going to create a new method called proper name. So generate the method proper name. There it is. It takes in a string, and it's going to just take in a string name. We don't know if it's first name, last name, whatever, and it returns a string. Okay, so it has to return a string. I'm going to say I'm going to pseudocode this. If name is just one character, capitalize and return it. So if name dot length is equal to 1, then return name to upper. And what if name is empty for whatever reason? Right? And actually it could even be null. So I'm going to say if string dot is null or empty name, return name. I'm just going to return it as is, which means I guess if it's returning null, or it could return null, we need to put a question mark there too. This could be null, and we might return null, because if you send in nothing and we see that it is nothing, we return nothing. Okay, so if we're here, we know name dot length is greater than 1. So it's something. All right. So what we're going to return is the first character of name. So name dot substring 0, 1. That's the first character as uppercase, plus the rest of the name to lowercase. So no matter what the name is, take the first character, make it uppercase, and add to it the rest of the name after the first character as lowercase. And that gets returned. So now we have this proper name function. I think we can ignore this error. It's warning us that this might return a null, but we know it's not going to return a null because first name cannot be null. The only way this can return null is if this thing is null. Okay, so we have first name is that, middle name, and last name. And then show the results. So string message equals nothing. Message plus equals first name. And then we want to make sure that middle initial is not null or empty. So if not string is null or empty middle name, message plus equals middle name. And then we're going to put last name in there. And last name is so similar to first name. I'm just going to copy paste. Only we don't have a new line after that one. And then show the message. All right, let's try this out. So we'll start with 3. Joel Ray Murach. Joel Ray Murach. And we could take Murach and right? Or even Joel can have an E, a capital E there. Joel Ray Murach. Great. What if Ray was just Joel R. Murach? Great. What if it was just Joel Murach? There is no middle name. What if it's just Joel? Last name is empty, right? Because remember, we're assuming that they have a last name. The book's instructions are the user should be a first, middle, last name, or just first and last. So this was step 2 and 3 and 4, making sure that we take the input, we trim it, which removes the white space at the ends, and then we split it on a space. So for some extra credit, last name, maybe that's null, and maybe when someone puts in the name, they put multiple spaces in the inside. So figure out how to take that and break it apart. Because if I run this again, and I say like Joel, and there's a bunch of spaces there, we didn't get his last name because there's too many spaces. It only knows how to break it on one space. So my students, some extra credit there. And the problem with that is like if it's Murach, if he's Irish or Scottish, it took Murach and made that second M lowercase. So you sometimes have to deal with fringe or edge cases like that as you're building applications. All right, that was the first half of this assignment. The second half is taking a phone number, and when someone enters a phone number, it should remove all special characters so the number consists of 10 digits. Then format the number with hyphens. Okay, we can get rid of this to do this initial cap method. We called ours proper name and we put it up there. We don't need to do that. Okay, so get the user's input, remove anything except numbers, show the phone number reformatted. So string phone number is equal to txt phone number dot text, and right away let's trim this. So from now on, when you're getting user input, you should be trimming it. You should always be trimming user input, unless there's a very specific reason why you want spaces in the beginning or the end. And then remove anything except numbers. All right, there's a few different ways to do this. So this is the solution that the book has. We have digits only. I like that. We're going to keep that. And then it looks at every character in the phone number string as an individual character, and it says, well, if it's not an open parenthesis or a closed parenthesis or a space or a dash or a dot, then add it. But what if somebody says, oh, I'm at extension 456. The X is being included in here because X is not one of the things that we throw out. So I don't really like this idea of finding what to throw out. Instead, we should really look at what we want to keep. And why don't we make another method for this? Because I feel like this could be a method that we use again in the future. So I'm going to say numbers only phone number, and then generate the method for numbers only. It takes in a string, it returns a string. So let's loop through this string. For each car C in phone number, so we're looking at each of these things. Oh, and we're going to have a string numbers only, and that's going to be equal to nothing, and that gets returned at the end. So do we add C to numbers only? So how do we know if C is a number? Well, check this out. What if we did if int dot try parse C to string, and our out is that underscore, meaning we don't care about it, we just throw it away. And if we can take C and we can make it into an integer, it must be a number. So then add it to numbers only. Remember, try parse returns a Boolean, true if it worked, false if it didn't. It takes in the input, which is this individual character one by one, and it puts the output in this variable. It's a reference variable that gets sent using the out keyword because it's going to be modified. It's an integer, and the name of it is just underscore because the underscore variable is a special one that gets thrown away. We're not using this again. So if this thing can be parsed as an integer, add it back to numbers only. Now we have that great numbers only method. And we still have to add some formatting to it, but let's start building our message. So we have the input, which was phone number, and that is a string. And then we have digits only, And eventually we're going to have a standard format, but we don't have that yet. Let's just show what we have right now. All right, we're just going to show it to the user, and let's try this. So we'll use the input that they gave us. There you go. This is what was inputted, and this is digits only. The open parenthesis, when you try to convert that to an integer, it fails, so it doesn't get added to digits only. But the 5, you can make the character 5, you can make it into an integer. You can make 5 into, you can do it 9, right? You can't do the close parenthesis. You can't do the space. I mean, I can put letters in there, and it wouldn't get added to digits only. Versus if we use the book solution, it would have been added to digits only. So this is a better way to write that digits only. All right, and then let's actually reformat the phone number. So string formatted number is equal to digits only, and we're going to insert at spot 3, I want to put a dash. And then the formatted number is going to be equal to the formatted number insert at spot 7, another dash. And now let's see in here what the formatted number looks like. And remember, our last line we don't need. Actually, no, we could leave that there, right? And when we put it to the screen, we can trim it, right? Trim our message, which will get rid of this blank line at the end. So run this one more time. This is our digits only. Spot 0, 1, 2. At spot 3, we put a dash in. And then 4, 5, 6 at spot 7, we put another dash in. All right, the input, that text is a little bit shorter than digits only and formatted. So the tab didn't get us all the way over. So what I want to do is put 2 tabs in on that one. There you go. Now that's nicely lined up. So better solution here for numbers only. What I would say a little bit more extra credit on this one would be once you have digits only, make sure it is 10 digits, right? Because if I ran it like that, is that a standard format for a phone number? Definitely not, because we didn't have enough digits only. Or if I had too many, that also is not the standard format for a phone number because we had too many here, right? But if we have just the right amount, so look at the length of this, and if it's not, I think 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. If digits only length is not 10, show an error message because you're expecting something else. Okay. And that was 9.2 work with strings.